The secret is cost shifting. That's the secret. So we shift the cost from expensive mechanical systems
Mm.
into the quality of the building shell, of the building envelope. We we
Wow.
ha we have a what we call a super insulated building
Mhm.
envelope. We
Mhm.
have triple glazed windows. They
Mhm.
have insulated frames. They get installed in a certain fashion,
Mhm.
and we basically we beef up the building envelope, and it's
Right.
super insulated. That means insulation is cheap. Insulation is the cheapest building material on the planet.
Mm.
It's much less expensive than
Mhm.
mass. That's really the issue.
Hello, everyone. My name is Izumi Tanaka with Home Green Homes Podcast. Today, I have a German architect from New Mexico, Santa Fe, New Mexico. He is the owner, founder of Zero E Design, and I am so interested in finding out his story and what he's doing these days. And Joaquin, thank you so much for your time today to join me on this podcast. I am just so curious how a German architect like yourself has ended up in Taos, New Mexico. And I think I said Santa Fe, but you're in Taos, New Mexico. And very, very curious how you ended
Yeah.
up being in Taos and
Yeah.
what brought you to New Mexico. So
Yeah.
let's start with that.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me. Thanks for being interested in my work and my story. Yeah, I do work, actually live in Taos, but I also work in Santa Fe and
Mhm.
the entire New Mexico area, really, no, mainly northern New Mexico,
Mhm.
because I'm a cold climate specialist, and that's where we are. Yeah, I mean, when I was a student in Germany back in the 80s, my generation of fellow students were the first generation that was interested in what was called eco-architecture. That was before the term green building was even coined, way before.
Mhm.
And we actually initiated that our professors became interested in that topic as well. So, but what was happening in the United States, particularly in the southwest of the United States, was at the time the most interesting work that was done worldwide in that field.
Mhm.
And that was it was called the passive solar adobe movement, and it was very strong in the Santa Fe and Taos area. And we were just fascinated with the kind of work and the kind of um, how would I say, like just trying out things, how they work, and not super scientific, but just trial and error. And what they came up with is just one of the most remarkable works in the history of sustainable
Mhm.
design,
Mhm.
you can say. And at the time, it was a fringe market in Germany. It was very much not mainstream, but it was mainstream here. And I wanted to come to the United States and be part of it.
Oh, wow.
That's how I ended up in Taos.
I see. But I'm just curious, what was it that when you were a student that was interested in this, what's called eco-architecture? Were you always interested in something ecological or architecture? What was the impetus for you to find
Yeah.
something called eco-architecture?
Yeah, well, in the 80s, it was actually mostly about materials, and
Mm.
it was mostly about natural building materials,
Mhm.
and more a way of life that was closer to nature than building with concrete and processed and highly industrialized materials,
Mhm.
and that's what was really interesting.
Mm.
But the conversation has changed. It was all about really mainly using Adobe earthen architecture
Mm-hmm.
type earthen technologies.
Mm-hmm.
And later the focus has shifted into energy. Then it was all about energy.
Right.
And that's where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's now all about decarbonizing
Yeah.
and fossil fuel free um, buildings,
Mm-hmm.
because the big number is that 40% of our nation's energy consumption is attributed to buildings.
Yeah.
So if you realize 40%, that is a huge number.
Yeah.
And that also drives home the potential that we have
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
through buildings to make a difference and to, you know, be to take CO2 or avoid CO2 being released into the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Ed Masria, the legend architect who is now founder of Architecture 2030,
Mm-hmm.
wrote an article a long time ago. Who really holds the key to the thermal um, to the key to the thermostat, the global thermostat? And he
Mm-hmm.
says it's the architecture. It's the architects
Mm.
stupid, he called it.
Architect stupid. That's a great term.
Yeah.
What did you find in New Mexico? What was your trajectory once you got to New Mexico?
Well, once I got to New Mexico, I worked with Mike Reynolds for a little
Mm.
while,
Mhm.
and
Mike, Mike Reynolds from the Earthship.
from the Earthships, yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. And we were building off-grid homes. Actually, I was working on Dennis Weaver's house,
Mm.
and then later, I actually was very interested and had come to the Navajo reservation before, like earlier, and then I was working with a tribe, with the Navajo tribe in Chinle, Canyon de Chelly area,
Mm-hmm.
um, on the use of local building materials and local labor because they have very high unemployment rates,
Right.
incredibly high unemployment rates, um, and very substandard housing. So we wanted to teach people how to use local materials and better housing.
Oh,
Yeah, so I was going back and forth from Taos to the reservation
mm-hmm.
for a number of years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what happened then?
Well, those were the passive solar days, right? Those
Mm-hmm.
were my passive solar days, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I thought we were doing really great in terms of, worldwide sustainability.
Yeah.
And that was only until I got to Germany and I was visiting my sister.
Uh-huh.
One morning having coffee at her dining table, reading the Berliner Tagesspiegel, and there was an article that said Germany is doing 90% efficiencies in buildings.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, what? What? Wait, they don't even have the sun. So how is this possible, right?
Right.
So I got to the bottom of it and it turns out there was an institute in Darmstadt, Germany. It's called the Passive House Institute.
Mm-hmm.
And they have figured out a way, they have really researched how buildings work, and it doesn't matter what kind of a building it is. It could be built out of straw bale, out of adobe, out of concrete, out of whatever, peanut butter and and jelly, whatever you want it. It always works the same way. You have losses and you have gains. And they looked at the losses and they realized when we can curb the losses, then we rule the game because the cheapest gallon of fuel is the one you don't need.
Right.
So not needing energy was what they were after. So they developed this new science, this new building science, right? That consists of it's a very complicated or complex system, but in effect, it reduces energy consumption by up to 90%.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that resulted in a career change. Basically,
Wow.
from that point on, I then worked with an architect from Cologne, Germany. He was a pioneer in that movement. And when I came back to the United States, we shut the office down. We basically took one project and worked it all through for our climate, for our materials, for the products that we needed that were available,
Mm,
which was very few, but it has changed now, because this has taken off and there's a lot more there are a lot more products on the market now than
right.
when we started like 15, 18 years ago.
Mm. So while you were at Navajo reservations, working with the native tribes
Yeah,
and building earthen structures,
yeah,
your own native country was developing this whole new building science of passive house. And
that's right.
isn't that great that now you have hands on both of those, amazing building techniques, right?
Techniques. Yeah, that's right.
And
That's right.
is that how you came out with your own uh, zero E design? Tell me about your genesis of zero E design.
You mean, yeah, so, well, zero E means zero energy. The E
Right.
stands for energy and emissions,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
this is the goal.
Yeah.
The goal is needing very little, extremely little energy
Right.
and not emitting anything.
Right.
Yeah, so that was, that's what it is about. Basically building carbon-free buildings that
Mm-hmm.
do not need energy, fossil fuel energy
Mm-hmm.
to operate anymore.
Right.
And really the goal is 2030 that the building buildings would be carbon neutral by 2030. And well, we're what, 2025? 5
I
years.
know it's coming pretty rapidly. It's 5 more
Yeah,
years.
yeah, yeah. But
Right?
we can build these buildings today. So that's what matters.
Hmm. So let's talk about the benefits and
Yeah,
values of zero E design.
yeah,
And I mean, I would imagine that you have your own proprietary techniques or design secrets, but passive design has become very much well known in the building industry.
yeah.
In California, there is a movement to make the passive design standard to be an alternative to the California Building Code these days.
Mhm.
So I know that there is definitely more available. So what is it that you do that makes your work unique?
Really, I'm trying to design buildings that are beautiful and
Hmm.
that work in incorporating all these passive house
Hmm.
principles.
Hmm.
Coming up with good design is what really is exciting to me.
Hmm.
I do a lot. I do mainly custom residential design,
Hmm.
but I also am very interested in cost-effective design.
Right.
So that this has to be something for everybody.
Right.
Everybody is supposed to be
Hmm.
able to afford a building
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm.
And I have for a long time I've always heard that people say, "Oh, I would love to have a passive house, but I can't afford it," and that led me to becoming interested in low cost passive houses,
Hmm.
because I've done this for wealthy clients for many, many years, and I knew how to achieve the same results without cutting any corners on a shoestring budget,
Hmm.
basically.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so I built our house or my house that way. It's fairly small. It's 1,000 square feet, has two bedrooms, an open design, and it has all the passive house features.
Hmm.
It has a small solar system, and everything is electric.
Hmm.
And all the appliances are electric. Hot water is electric.
Hmm.
Heating is a heat pump, electric heat pump. One single head heat pump for the entire house that does heating and cooling and a fan function.
Hmm.
And we also charge our electric car. And our average utility bill is $54 a month,
Wow.
of which 25 $5 is the meter fee.
Wow, wow.
So it can be done.
Yeah,
It can,
yeah,
I wanted to show that this can be done
right.
on, on a modest budget as
So
well.
tell me how you achieve that. Like, what are the things that you were able to accomplish that would reduce the cost of, I'm sure designing is part of it, but designing and constructing and operating probably as well, right? So how is it that you were able to achieve that affordability or lower cost compared to, some of the custom beautiful. I saw the pictures on your website. They're all beautiful. The work
Yeah.
that you've done are so beautiful.
Yeah,
But
thank you.
just by looking at them, I'm going, that
Yeah.
looks. They look very expensive.
Yeah. So the secret is cost shifting.
Mm,
That's the secret. So we shift the cost from expensive mechanical systems
mm,
into the quality of the building shell, of the building envelope.
wow.
We have what we call a super insulated building
Mhm,
envelope. We
mhm,
have triple glazed windows. They
mhm.
have insulated frames. They get installed in a certain fashion,
Mhm.
and we basically we beef up the building envelope, and it's
Right.
super insulated. That means insulation is cheap. Insulation is the cheapest building material on the planet.
Mm,
It's much less expensive than
mhm,
mass,
mhm.
and that's really the issue. What we save, I mean, around here, what's very popular is radiant heated floors.
Mhm.
Then you need a boiler, you need zone valves, you need a distribution system, you need zoning,
Mm.
and all of that we don't need anymore. We
Yeah.
don't even have heat floor loops in the radiant floor loops in our floors anymore. We don't need it. So we
Yeah.
shift the expense
Right.
from expensive mechanical systems,
I see.
into the quality of the building shell. And there are no moving parts. The building envelope is always there for you to perform.
Right.
So when there is a power outage, or like we had a few years ago, that our area was taken off the national of the natural gas
Mhm.
grid, a
Mhm.
lot of the houses or homes were
Mhm.
dropping into the 40s indoor air temperature
Yeah.
in the middle of the winter. These passive houses, they don't even notice anything. They just coasted right through.
Wow.
So, it's also about resilience to
Mhm.
a
Oh,
large
yes.
degree.
Yes. Yes. So basically you're minimizing the cost of systems, like you said, mechanical systems that you have to buy and install and
Right,
maintain and
right.
operate and maintain, but your house is already energy efficient
Yes,
enough that you don't have to have those mechanical systems running.
that's exactly right. Yeah.
Right.
They're all very small and very simple. I mean, basically, you can heat a house like that with a hairdryer.
Wow.
2000, 2000 watts in the
Uh-huh.
coldest night of the of,
Yeah.
of, of the year. Of
Yeah.
course, we don't use a hairdryer. We use something a little more
Uh-huh.
refined and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
evolved.
Yeah.
But
So,
in essence,
mhm.
that's exactly how
Yeah.
and then there's other things too.
Mhm.
We there's cost saving features in like the finishes.
Mhm.
We use concrete floors.
Mhm.
That are beautiful, and there doesn't need to be any tile or any carpet or
Mhm.
anything like that. It's just very very simple, very straightforward,
Mhm.
and beautiful. And
Mhm.
for countertops, we use tile, zero grout line, Italian floor tiles,
Mhm.
much less expensive than marble or granite countertops. So there's a lot
Sure.
of tricks how you can
Mhm.
basically build a beautiful home
Mhm.
without spending large
Right.
amounts of money.
And without compromising the aesthetics of it,
Yes,
right? Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and performance.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Right.
And when you're talking about insulation, is there any particular material that you tend to use? Like, do you use like earth materials like hempcrete or any kind of SIP that gives you that insulation R
Yeah.
value?
Well, when it comes to uh, affordable,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
housing,
why I'm asking.
then then you need to really, you need to really look at what's environmentally clean
Right,
and what is very inexpensive. And
right.
I'm a nut for cellulose.
Okay,
Cellulose is recycled newspaper.
right. Yes.
And there's masses around, and
Uh-huh.
it's a beautiful insulator. It
Mm-hmm.
packs around plumbing and electrical, and
Mm-hmm.
is really nice and dense and doesn't
Mm-hmm.
settle if you do it right.
Right.
And so I put this in our roof cavities, in our walls, and loads and masses of it.
Okay,
I just love that stuff.
that's good to
But
hear.
of course, you can use, there's rock wool, for
Mm-hmm.
example, there is hemp,
Mm-hmm.
but the industry is not yet developed so that this is actually a mainstream product. We're on
Mm-hmm.
the way to this,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we'll have it at some point.
yeah,
But when you are talking about cost effectiveness,
yeah,
you need to use what's available.
yeah. I think cellulose is pretty, I'm gonna say standard, maybe almost standard. Like I think
It's very
people,
standard.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So people are already using cellulose, right?
Yeah,
I think I put cellulose in my attic as well.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So your clientele is mostly, you said, wealthy homeowners, or do you have any kind of projects that are atypical for your clientele, or is there any
Well,
projects that you are proud, other than your home, that you're talking about?
yeah. Well, I do both. I do
Hmm.
custom residential design, and I
Hmm.
also do cost-effective
Hmm.
projects. And
Hmm.
so we're just now in the process of building a four-unit development here in Taos on Dolan Street.
Hmm.
And they are small and super efficient, two-bedroom, two-bathroom homes.
Hmm.
And they are separated by a carport.
Oh, okay.
Every
Hmm.
carport has a charging station for an
Uh-huh.
electric car.
Uh-huh.
They are basically passive houses,
Hmm.
and they are built in the way that I just described,
Hmm.
and they are not any more expensive than a typical house
Hmm.
in the
Hmm.
same size would be.
Hmm. Now,
Yeah.
is that a spec project, or is that a
No,
commission?
it's a developer.
Oh, I see. So,
Yeah,
so the developer specifically wanted that type of design.
that is correct.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, what is your experience in terms of the receptivity of the type of designs that you provide? Are there, I would say that New Mexico is probably more receptive to, this type of ideas, but what is your experience of people, you know, do they seek you out? Or do you think that passive house, or, energy, zero energy, zero E design, are there, do you think, getting hold of people's interest these days?
Yes, I would say so. And for various reasons,
Mm-hmm.
actually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think one of the main reasons is that it's becoming known
Mm-hmm.
that those buildings are really comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
very comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, I went back to Germany at some point, and my father's friend is a realtor, and I told him, what I'm doing, and
Yeah.
he, oh, I would love to live in a passive house. They are so
Uh,
comfortable, and
uh,
that is becoming known
mm-hmm.
because there are features in a passive house that are just amazing. I mean, you have a whole house ventilation system with
Yeah.
recovery,
Yeah.
right? That means 9 times a day, your entire indoor air is being renewed and filtered. And
Circulated. Yeah.
at the same time, you're recovering up to 95% of the energy that would be lost through ventilation that is uncontrolled, through
Mm-hmm.
opening windows or through
Right.
cracks. and pinholes and
Mm-hmm.
things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we build super tight, but then we have a whole house ventilation system
Yeah.
and with heat recovery. And when you leave and go on a vacation, you come back 2 weeks later, the air is just pristine. Every morning, the air is just pristine.
Yeah.
It's really quite amazing
Mm-hmm.
the level of comfort. And you can filter them. So if
Right.
there's a forest fire outside or something,
Right.
you can filter them down, and that is just an amazing feature. So
Mm-hmm.
comfort is one, air quality is part of that,
Mm-hmm.
and durability.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the a super insulated house is a house of high quality, very high quality.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We
Yeah.
are used we were used in the United States to houses that were built out of 2x4s and
Yeah.
hardly any insulation. So
Hollow walls. That's very typical, especially in California.
energy was cheap,
Yeah. Yeah.
energy was cheap. So
Yeah.
why insulate, right?
Right.
So
Right.
that has changed, and
Yeah.
energy is now volatile, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Prices
Yeah.
up and down. So yeah, so durability and then resilience.
Yeah.
Resilience is also
Mm-hmm.
something that people are increasingly interested in. I
Right.
mean, you guys just went through the Palisades fire.
Yes. So you gave me a great segue to this next question about the fire.
Okay.
I don't know if you saw it on the news, but there was one home that stood in Palisades. There was actually two homes that survived the Palisades fire, and there are other houses that survived, but there were two in particular that got a lot of media attention, and
Yeah.
because they were designed to withstand the wildfires and such. But one of them was a passive house, right?
Yeah.
So how would your design may apply? Like, I don't know if your design may differ anyway, but can you talk about how, this type of design can apply for, now that a lot of people are going to be rebuilding in
Yeah.
fire zones, how would it apply and how would it benefit the
Yeah.
the homes? Yeah.
So first of all, a passive house is not per se fire resistant.
Okay.
What makes a passive house can be fire resistant, but it's not per se a fire
Mhm.
resistant
Right.
home.
I see.
Fire resistance, the way I would approach something like that is that you think about a fire smart building envelope. And
Mhm.
what I mean is that there are no places for amber to collect and burn.
Mhm.
So for example, recessed windows
Mhm.
on the windowsills, I would think about avoiding those. I would
Mhm.
also not do large roof overhangs. I
Mhm.
would probably do very minimal roof overhangs.
Mhm.
I would also make sure that no amber can enter the roof cavity because roofs can be vented. A lot of roofs are vented. I would probably do an unvented roof design
Mhm. Mhm.
so that no ember can even get under the roof. And
Mhm.
then you would use non-combustible building materials. You can use rock wool as a good material that is readily available for insulation. I would definitely use a metal roof or a tile roof or something that cannot burn. And or fiber cement on the outside is also a good building material. Brick is a good building material, and yeah, those are the things that I would apply, and then you have to think, okay, those are the things that we need. How can that be beautiful?
Mhm.
It's probably going to be more boxy,
Right.
boxy but beautiful,
Right.
like an Alfa Romeo
Yeah.
Giulietta.
Okay.
It's a
Yeah.
kind of a boxy car, but it's gorgeous.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So,
get it. Yeah. Uh-huh.
and
And
then of course, And then, of course, you would do all the typical things, like
Mhm.
make sure that there's nothing in the that your fences are
Mhm.
fireproof, that
Mhm.
you don't have anything that can combust around your house, and to clear it out. Basically, of what they call a defensible site,
Sure. Right.
right?
Right.
But yeah,
So
that's
your area, New Mexico and even Colorado, you have experienced some wildfires coming through. So have
yeah.
you had any case where you helped redesign homes that have been affected by any fires or any type of natural disasters?
No, not yet.
I
Not
see.
yet.
Uh-huh.
No.
But
Luckily, I mean, there have been fires, but
right.
they were not really in Taos and not really in Santa Fe. They
I
were in
see.
Mora,
Uh-huh.
New Mexico, and of course, Colorado. I mean,
Yeah.
Colorado had the Marshall Fire. I don't know if you heard
Right.
about
Yes,
that.
I remember.
Yeah,
Like Boulder, they had a
Boulder
lot of.
area.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was also devastating.
yeah.
So thank you so much for this great insight. I'm really excited to talk to you. What is your vision and what is your dream, or how do you see what's going to be coming in
Hmm.
this very tumultuous world today?
Yeah.
In the world of building and home buildings.
Right. So for the future, I would like to see more affordable zero energy buildings, resilient buildings,
Mm-hmm.
and particularly in offsite construction.
Yeah.
So basically pre-manufactured.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't think that, considering housing prices and construction prices right now that are so expensive,
Mm-hmm.
um, we need to find ways to to bring the cost down,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that pre-manufacturing or panelized
Mm-hmm.
building systems, passive
Mm-hmm.
house
Mm-hmm.
quality,
Mm-hmm.
wall and roof assemblies
Mm-hmm.
that are constructed in the factory and then brought to the site and put
Right.
together within a day or a
Mm-hmm.
couple of days.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the future to me. And
Mm-hmm.
so you think less in terms of a custom design, but
Mm-hmm.
rather a design that is customizable, that
Right.
has a part,
Right.
like a Nike shoe,
Right.
like you can, there's the same shoe. It can have a yellow sole and blue strings, or it can have a purple strings and black soles, or whatever, right? I mean, you have these customizable things, but it's always the same shoe, or it's
Yeah.
always the same house,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if you mass produce this and you have options,
Mm-hmm.
you can bring the price down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm seeing um, more and more happening. As a
Mm-hmm.
matter of fact, there are more and more companies doing this now,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
think it's a very positive development.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And do you have any plan for taking on anything like that?
Well, the Dolan Street projects that I mentioned,
Right.
they are passive house panelized construction.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
all of
So,
them.
so they're not modular in terms of modular prefabs, but they're panelized. So
They're
you.
panelized, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They basically the contractor provides the
Mm-hmm.
slab,
Mm-hmm.
the house slab
Foundation.
or the floor,
Mm-hmm.
brings in all the utilities, and
Mm-hmm.
then the flatbed truck arrives with
Yeah.
the walls and
Right.
roof
Mm-hmm.
panels
Mm-hmm.
stacked,
Mm-hmm.
and the contractor with a crane and his crew
Mm-hmm.
put this together very quickly, and then from
Wow.
there on, it's
Yeah.
have a weatherized building shell all of a sudden.
Wow.
And from there, it's just, your typical plumbing, electrical, drywall, finishes, kitchen, bathrooms, done.
So that obviously shortens the construction time, right?
Hugely.
Timeline.
Hugely. Yeah. It
Right.
shortens construction time. You don't need to pay your mortgage for such a lot. It
Yeah.
shortens the length of
Mm-hmm.
that time.
Mm-hmm.
And it the precision is just amazing. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's built in a controlled environment. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you can't match that in the field.
Right. Is this developer going to be building more of things like that in your area, you think?
Possibly. Po-
Yeah.
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 I would love to see more developers um, to have the foresight
Mm-hmm.
for these type of houses
Mm-hmm.
because I think they're going to be needed.
Mm-hmm. Definitely do hear a lot of people talking about prefabs and panelized construction for the fire zone. You
Yeah,
know, there are definitely conversation passive house and prefab and such. For because they want to rebuild those areas as quickly as possible. So
yeah,
I think you might find some clients out here.
that would be great.
Yeah.
Tell them to call me.
Yes. So speaking of that, how can people find you, Joaquin?
Through they can go on my website,
Mm-hmm.
zeroedesign.com.
Zeroedesign.com.
Zero, so spelled out
Yes.
Zero, and then E like energy, and then
Uh-huh. Dot
design.com.
com. And that's
Um,
where people can find you.
my contact information is on there.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, thank you so much. This was such a great conversation. I want to have more conversations with you, and
Okay.
but for this time, for this one, it's out of time. But I really appreciate your time, Joaquin, and thank you so much. And I wish you the best. I love what you're doing.
And I love what you're doing.
Thank you.
Spread the news.
Yes, indeed. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, Joaquin.
Okay. Thank you too. Bye bye.
This was Izumi Tanaka with Home Green Homes, the podcast. Thank you so much. Until the next episode.